President Trump today taking the step of placing Washington, D.C.'s police force under direct federal control. And this is part of a sweeping effort to curb violent crime in the nation's capital. We'll now go live to NTD's Mari Otsu at the White House, who was just at the president's press briefing this morning. Okay, Mari, good afternoon. Please tell us, what is the latest from the briefing?
Good afternoon to you too, Don. It was absolutely packed at the briefing this morning, with both President Trump and Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt saying that it was the most crowded briefing they had ever seen. And right off the bat, President Trump announced he's officially placing the D.C. Metro Police under federal control directly and sending over 800 National Guardsmen to counter violent crime in the capital. Take a look.
This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States. I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. You want to have safety in the streets, and you don't have that now. The murder rate in Washington today is higher than that of Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City, some of the places that you hear about as being the worst places on earth, much higher.
Trump also added that he may deploy active duty military if it's needed. And at the briefing, we were given this fact sheet showing the 2024 murder rate per 100,000, with Washington, D.C. rates here, the red line, double that of Bogota, the capital of Colombia. And while Democratic leaders cite numbers showing that D.C. crime rate has been coming down, the White House actually highlighted the fact that a D.C. police commander was suspended last month for manipulating crime data. Also included are photos of criminals here from the D.C. streets this weekend who were removed. This man was arrested for possession of a controlled substance, and this man was charged with possession of a firearm, possession of unregistered ammunition, and the intent to distribute narcotics and carrying a pistol without a license. Don?
And Mari, Judge Pirro made some comments today as well about cracking down on violent crime in the nation's capital. What changes is she calling for, and what's behind this push?
Yeah, President Trump said that in addition to more police presence, what's actually needed is a change in rules and regulations. And so he was joined in the briefing by U.S. Attorney for D.C., Jeanine Pirro. Judge Pirro vowed to change the D.C. laws that give lenient punishments to young people committing violent crimes. Take a look.
I see too much violent crime being committed by young punks who think that they can get together in gangs and crews and beat the hell out of you or anyone else. They don't care where they are. They can be in DuPont Circle, but they know that we can't touch them. Why? Because the laws are weak. I can't touch you if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old and you have a gun. I can't arrest them. I can't prosecute them. They go to family court and they get to do yoga and arts and crafts. Enough. It changes today.
In addition to ramping up the punishments, President Trump is also pushing to change the no cash bail policies in cities like Chicago, New York, and D.C. Trump says as Republicans hold the majority in Congress, they can vote to change the statutes on this. Back to you, Don.
Okay, Mari, thanks for the update. As President Trump targets homelessness and violent crime in the nation's capital, how safe do D.C. residents feel, and do they support the decision to increase federal police presence? NTD's Sam Wong reports.
You feel safe being in the city?
Yes, yeah, I feel incredibly safe in the city.
Depends on where and depends on the timing.
How about Navy Yard?
Navy Yard is not necessarily a place that I would feel safe at all different hours of the day.
There's a couple times I've been in the morning, shootings down at Harris Teeter. Safety officer got shot or something like that, and they had all the streets blocked off.
The city has a history of, crime. I don't think it's any significantly different than any other city, on a per capita basis.
I know there's been concern online about, especially these scooters, knee bikes, that they're running those down sidewalks and into crowds, and so, but Personally, I feel safe.
There's been a couple of times during ball games that stuff has gone down. I haven't been directly there to see it, that I know has happened right here while I've been down at games before. I still feel reasonably safe walking around here. I mean, I don't know if that's going to be for everybody. I'm a pretty big guy. That might not be what everybody's thinking walking around here.
President Trump has ordered to increase the presence of federal law enforcement here in D.C. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that adequately addresses the safety issue here?
I think, no, I don't think so.
Sure do. More the better.
I wouldn't say more or less. No, I feel fine. So, but this is a safe neighborhood when I'm in it.
I can see if he's truly concerned about safety, I can see the value behind it. I just think that overall the city of D.C. has a much more systemic issues with their police department than that.
I want to feel comfortable going around a neighborhood and not having to worry about safety, but also not having to worry about having a police officer on every corner. It's very intimidating.
I like that his positive steps toward keeping the people of D.C. safe. There has to be law and order, 100%.
And joining us now to discuss President Trump's efforts to reduce crime and the beautification of the U.S. Capitol is Nils Grevelius, a Los Angeles-based private detective. So good afternoon, Nils. Trump says he's putting the D.C. Metropolitan Police under federal control. To start off, maybe you can give us your assessment. What's this impact? What is the impact?
Well, Mr. Ma, good afternoon. I think it's a very wise idea. The Democrats have played a long game here, Mr. Ma, where they want 100% ownership of the D.C. political entity, yet 0% responsibility for what occurs there. And the GOP has gone along with this for too long, and I think it's a wise move. The city doesn't just need to be beautified, it needs to be cleaned out. Judge Pirro talked about holding municipal judges accountable, and AG Bondi talked about tracking every single case. I think we need to out these judges and tie them to the political structure that has created a situation with zero consequences for anybody other than normal people. The criminal element are free to do precisely as they please.
So what do you say to the argument that, according to official data, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department data, that crime is actually down, violent crime down 26%?
It can't be trusted. They just had to suspend a D.C. police official for faking statistics under political pressure. I don't trust it. We're seeing a lot of violence, a lot of dereliction, that sort of thing. It comes from drug gangs and other things. We've got these vast bum camps all over our capital, and it needs to be cleaned up and cleaned out. Let me pose to you, Mr. Ma, if we had marauding gangs of Klansmen running around Washington, D.C., the Democrats would want it cleaned up immediately. We need to do this. D.C. has to be cleaned up, and this is inexcusable. People are suffering and dying. Even the people they claim that they're trying to help and protect and that sort of thing are suffering mightily under this history and regime.
So federal control can only last about 30 days before Congress gets involved. Do you think that's enough time to change the situation with federal involvement? What happens after that?
I think it's enough time to flush every shade of gray from the room, Mr. Ma, and I think that's the primary purpose of President Trump's action, is to put the Democrats on notice to either cooperate or get the hell out of the way. Congress can act after 30 days, and Congress has acted in the past. In the 1930s, there were a bunch of veterans of World War I who occupied Washington, D.C., called the Bonus Marchers. And President Hoover sent the U.S. Army out to break up the encampments. There's a history of this, and no one can say that this is unprecedented, which is a preferred word in media, but this can be done, and it must be done.
Okay, talk to us about the long-term policing efforts versus deploying National Guard or military in reducing crime.
Well, you have to identify the criminal element. Typically, 2% of the population is committing 99% of the criminal behavior, drug dealing, property crimes, breaking into automobiles, assaults, that sort of thing, and you imprison that 2% or get them on the road to rehabilitation, whichever works best, and that solves your problem, the number goes down. But by having a consequence-free city, it has just escalated, and I do not trust the current leadership of that city to provide honest statistics as to criminality, dereliction, drug addiction, fentanyl, anything. You can't trust them.
Where do you think the root cause of crime in D.C. comes from? And do you think President Trump's measures today addresses the root cause of crime?
The root cause of crime in Washington, D.C. is criminals, Mr. Ma. There are people who like committing crimes. They're psychopaths or they're drug addicts. They have to support their drug habit, and so they steal, they maraud. They deal drugs to support their own habit. They murder each other over drug territory, things like that. Yes, what President Trump is proposing heads it in the right direction. Let's see how the execution works out. So far, the people that he has appointed to his cabinet have been pretty effective. Many of them are very skilled at reducing criminality in urban areas. Let's give it a try. Nobody else has.
What do you think about the removal or reduction of no cash bail? Is that going to affect crime rates in a positive way?
Yes, I think it's very important when somebody's freedom is in hock to capital. They have every reason to show up in court and participate in the process. If they're not invested in any way, they're not hurting in any way. You have to tie them to it, and you have to tie their families to it too, because crime is often a family problem, where you have whole families of people involved in criminality, and it's intergenerational. That's one of the other situations that's occurred in a consequence-free society. You have veteran criminals out on the street intermixing with juvenile delinquents, and they're not making the juvenile delinquents better citizens. They're making them into more skilled criminals.
Okay, just one last question. How do you think the local leadership is going to interact with federal involvement, for example, DC's mayor?
Well, Muriel Bowser, the mayor, Mr. Ma, so far has made positive noises about most of this. She wasn't too happy about the idea of the National Guard. I'll point out that the D.C. establishment loved it when Joe Biden put the National Guard out after the January 6th situation. So I think that the D.C. people have every incentive in the world to participate in cleaning up their city. But there will be political elements that will try to claw back power. For every measure that Donald Trump takes, the Democrat establishment works hard to deteriorate his authority, his orders, et cetera, in the court system. Trump knows this and he's prepared for it. And that's what I mean about flushing every shade of gray from the room. Where there's some ambiguity as to federal authority, he removes that ambiguity by acting.
Well, all right, Nils, it was good to talk to you today. Thank you for your time.
It's my sincere pleasure. Have a safe day, Mr. Ma.
You as well. Next, soldiers in a law enforcement role.